Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to Digital Rights for Blind and Deaf People. How is it going session at RightsCon 2023? Hi, I am Alan Kusuma, based in Indonesia and have been advocating for digital rights since 2016. And now I am a student at the Faculty of Humanities, University of Indonesia, and an independent consultant or researcher focusing on digital rights intersecting with gender and environment. So I am excited to be facilitating today's discussion, which hosted three wonderful speakers from the blind and deaf community. Deaf and blind communities have specific challenges, not only in accessing internet and the information produced or reproduced or disseminated in it, but also on how to access a safer internet away from threats such as from online gender-based violence threats. From WHO, over 1.5 billion people globally live with hearing loss. This number could rise to over 2.5 billion by 2050. Currently, 34 million children have disabling hearing loss, and hearing loss can have a significant impact on a child's development and educational achievements. On the other side, according to the International Agency for the Prevention of Blindness, or IAPB, globally 1.1 billion people were living with vision loss in 2020. Around 43 million people are blind and 295 million people have moderate to severe visual impairment. And although just as others, they are able to seek goods and services from businesses using websites and mobile apps, they face pervasive challenges in the digital environment. Today, we are going to discuss the situation from Indonesia and Bangladesh. And before that, let me greet our three wonderful speakers. I have Nisi Taruli Felicia, co-founder of Feminist Themis from Indonesia. Hi, Nisi. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Nisi, and this is my sign name, Nisi. I am from Indonesia. I'm also a co-founder as a co-founder of Feminist Themis.
Okay, Nisi, would you like to introduce more of your work?
Sure. So currently, I'm a freelancer and I'm focusing on empowering deaf community, making a program so they can more have any access on Feminist Themis. And our work is focusing on gender-based violence and also about digital literacy for deaf people. But actually, we are mainly only one thing for deaf, so they can improve their life and also to prevent their own, to prevent the gender-based violence. And now I'm trying to advocating and also becoming a consultant. So I'm partnering with a lot of people and also deaf people as well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nisi. Also, accompanying Nisi, we have two sign interpreters from Indonesia. There is Uci and there is also Jasmine. And the sign language interpreter is provided by ICT Watch, an organization that is advocating for mostly digital literacy in Indonesia. So, okay, I'm going ahead to also greet Mahreta Maha, the chairperson of the Association of Indonesia Women with Disability. or HWDI from Indonesia. Bu Reta, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you, Ellen. My name is Mareta Maha, but people like to call me just Reta for simply. And I am visually impaired. I'm a low vision with my sight is just 10% left. And now I am involved, I'm active on several organizations of people with disabilities in Indonesia, whether national organization or and also a branch organization like in provincial level. And I also known as a disability trainer and also disability expertise. I give training to all stakeholders here according about disability awareness or disability rights issues. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you so much, Bu Reta. And then we have Faskar Bhattacharjee. I hope I don't butcher your name. National Consultant for Accessibility in the A2I program from Bangladesh. Faskar, how are you doing?
Yeah, fantastic. Even though in my place it is 10:17 or 18, I think it's at 10:20 p.m. So
yeah,
great time to talk. So my name is Bhaskar Bhattacharjee. I am a person with visual disability. I am just born blind in almost 4.5 decades ago in a rural village, and I lost my eyesight. Currently, I am working with the Bangladesh government as a national consultant accessibility. And also I have been working with a number of organizations, including I'm just serving as an inclusion advisor for Young Power in Social Action. IPSA is one of the civil society organizations, and serving for a number of organizations of people with disabilities, including Visual Impaired People Society, Chittagong Society for the Disabled, CSD, and Federation of DPOs, many more. And I am serving as a country representative of the G3ICT, and also I'm the Vice President of the Accessibility Standing Group of the Internet Society. My specialization is digital inclusion, climate change, disaster management, etc. So very nice to meet you all, and I hopefully we could you could enjoy our discussions today, as there is a two renowned panelists and also an excellent moderator, very nice moderator. And we had a very nicest experience last year in Singapore. We have attended Asia Pacific Internet Governance Forum together, and we are same fellow, and we are collaborating for this session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bhaskar. Yeah, we met at the APR IGF last year, and then it's nice that I am able to collaborate with you right now. Okay, so I think we have to start the discussion. We don't really have much time. I want to start with the very basic question. What is digital rights for you? Maybe Nisi can answer it first.
Okay, for me personally, rights for deaf community is every informations by all means are accessible for us. What is accessible means are, so it has the perfect or can accommodating us with the best way that us can access. Not only giving only by the access, you just give the access, but the accommodation itself has to be tailored for each individuals of deaf people. For instance, if we see it, for just a simple example, if you see any public facilitations, usually for keying. Usually the public facilitations or health facilitations, and for keying, they only have the access for audio. Maybe they has the visual informations, but it not fulfilled. Audio may be needed, so it's also a technology, but it doesn't mean accessible for us as a deaf person. It means our digital rights on public facilitations is not really fulfilled. And also on social media, for instance, we might know lah, for social media is a fast informations and also communications that happening. So for instance, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, we all have the account of any social media, and also the contents also a lot there, but not all of them are accessible for us as deaf person, because the video itself, for instance, they also post any videos, but they only talk without any captions inside, so it might be hard for us to access. And also using the high level type of language, so it might be harder for us to understand, and they don't have any sign language inside of their videos, which makes us not can very access it. But the reality is social media cannot accessible enough for us. Still not. And the situation of Indonesia on television usually has sign language interpreter on the news. Yeah, correct. It's an access, it's accessible, but not accessible enough, because I think they took a wrong way, because in Indonesian televisions, the sign language interpreter size is very minimum. I mean, it's like putting a logo inside the televisions. Maybe we can make it more. Maybe we can make it more bigger, so it's not like quite like a logo. But for me, what I saw is the logo itself might be bigger than the sign language interpreter, which makes no sense, since sign language interpreter hold the access role, not only just for making the television beautiful, more beautiful. So I think giving the access itself is important, but might be they giving the wrong kind of access, so it's not fulfill the needs. The only thing that, oh yeah, we already give the sign language interpreter, so that's enough, but they don't think about how the quality itself, how the size itself, so it's not very enough. And the situation is it's not accessible enough for us deaf person in Indonesia. And for me, digital access means giving the access, but mostly important is suitable with our needs. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nisi. That's a very harsh truth, right? Because some people think that giving like sign language interpreter is enough, giving like posting a video in social media is enough, but apparently it's not really enough for the person with the hearing loss. So yeah, thank you, Nisi, for reminding us about we need to be more sensitive about providing access to the deaf person, especially. Okay, let me go to Ibu Reta. Ibu Reta, the same question for you. What is digital rights for you or for the visual impairment communities?
Yeah, thank you, Ellen. Rights is where when we are talking about rights. So for me, it's a means equal opportunities. So nowadays, we know that digital are common because all things, all sectors now already we can use it or we can access through digital. For example, like a bank, we don't need to go to the bank office anymore. We just can do it all kind of bank transaction from home, which is using a technology, using a digital application, and also learning. We can now learn with e-learning and digital are talking about we can access everything with using the application that we can operate from wherever we are at the moment. Access mean if other people without disability can operate or can get the information from that application. So it's supposed to be the application should can be accessed for all people, either they are disabled or not neither they are disabled or no. So for me, we have similar or equal opportunities for anyone, include people who are using a screen reader to access the technology, because for blind people or people with visually impaired, now we can access the technology with a screen reader. But if the application or if the platform is not accessible, we still cannot use the application, although we have a screen reader already in our gadget or in our device. So I think what we need to raise is accessibility is a must for any kind of platform, and also as Nisi said, the content itself should be accessible for all. So for example, for blind people, if you put a video or a picture, you should put a description, or you should put the audio description, which can access for they are who using a screen reader or using a hearing, or you should put a text transcription for there who cannot hear the audio very well. So you should put both of that kinds of accessibility, so all people can access the content itself, because now the situation here in Indonesia, we have still facing many difficulties for especially for blind people to access some website or some platform, even for our daily needs like bank. It's still many difficulties for us. many barriers that we are facing when we accessing the application, and sometimes the developer just thinking about how it can make a good look and a nice appearance, but they forgot that they also need to make all application or all platform or all website are accessible for all.
Okay, thank you, Bureta. And now I want to go to Faskar. Faskar, what is digital rights for you?
Digital rights is a human rights for me, and without the digital technology, I cannot even survive nowadays, because I can't work professionally. I could lose my ability to work, and I cannot move here and there because of the without the technology. I can't. My mobility could be restricted. Without digital accessibility, my information will be limited, because I am highly dependent on the technology for receiving informations. And without digital technology connectivity, I will be excluded from the global community. Like you people, nicest people, we are now connected. You can see we are totally blind, and we are not seeing this beautiful world, but we are feeling, we are connected, we are communicating, we are just browsing through here and there through this digital technology. Digital rights means I want to understand, perceive, and navigate all types of informations which are available virtually. We want to access all the websites which are available publicly. We want to access all the informations in alternative formats, such as accessible ebook, multimedia talking book, digital book, etc. We want to navigate with the social media. We want to connect it to the social media. We want the information provided in the social media must be accessible and user-friendly for people with vision disability. We want to get the information in our local language. We need the assistive technology without cost or no cost. We are highly concerned about the cost of technology, which really restricted our use of digital technology, such as screen reading software, which are very expensive. But nowadays we have very good quality open source screen reading software. But unfortunately, there is many countries don't have high quality text to speech. That's why we are restricted to use our mother language in proper manner. And also the devices are highly expensive. That's also restricted the people with visual disabilities to connect it or use technology. Internet are poor in rural side of the countries and also costly. That's also restricted the people with disabilities to for their digital rights. And low literacy, poverty create digital divide, and that's also restricted the millions of people with disabilities not to be get the information or connection or involved with the digital technology. I believe we have national and international commitments, such as in Bangladesh, we have Persons with Disability Rights and Protection Act 2013, where digital rights was definition. There is a definition was given on digital accessibility and ensure all informations, web and technology would be accessible for people with disabilities. We have a global commitment, that is UN Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities. There is Article 9, who have talked about accessibility. Recently, there is another treaty is called Marrakesh Treaty, which already 116 countries has ratified, and including Bangladesh. That's ensure the accessible books for people with disabilities. And most importantly, we have sustainable development goal. Directly, there is a 5 goals have talked about the rights of persons with disabilities. And one of the main theme of this sustainable development goal is no one left behind. And no one means we people with disabilities. We cannot be excluded. We cannot be discriminated. We want to be connected. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaskar. You and Ibu Reta raise a very valid situation on accessibility for the especially the blind communities. Yeah, on affordability, on the device itself, on the content that is being posted in the internet, and so on. Yeah. Okay, you have touched about the situation of digital rights in Bangladesh, but would you like to elaborate more, Bhaskar, about what is the situation with the blind communities in Bangladesh right now? What are they facing? Is there any digital threats that they are facing because of the inaccessible features or functions?
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can see one of the biggest challenges for Bangladesh is the data. We don't have very accurate data of persons with disabilities. And our Bureau of Statistics in 2009, they said it is 9.6%. In 2011 census, data was 1.4%. 2016, that is 6.6%. 2022, there is 2.8%. So there's the data is the biggest challenge. The Ministry of Social Welfare of Bangladesh already developed a database of 3 million people with disabilities. Around 300,000 plus are persons with visual disabilities. And recently, Bangladesh government has adopted a national web and e-service design accessibility guideline that is that could be a very important move to ensure the digital accessibility in Bangladesh. But unfortunately, still our webs and applications are not fully accessible. But we are working hard to making them fully accessible for all types of people with disabilities. One of our e-learning platform, it's called Muktopad. It is one of the largest Bangla e-learning platform in the country, where 300 plus courses are there. That's became accessible for people with disabilities, and few courses among 300 are fully accessible for all types of people with disabilities, including sign language user, because we have used the sign language and caption and also the scripting in the courses. And another biggest platform is called National Portal. National Portals is bangladesh.gov.bd, where is 33,000 websites are connected with 52,000 offices. And that's also now we are working to make it more accessible. One of the biggest challenges of this platform is there is hundreds of thousands of inaccessible JPF converted PDF file, which are not accessible through screen reading software. And also there is another challenge. Some of the Bangla content has using Connollian form, not Unicode supported text. That's also create a barrier for people with disabilities. And the third challenge is that we don't have the high quality Bangla text to speech. And that's why people with visual disabilities are not able to read Bangla in a proper manner, not able to write Bangla in proper manner. And really it is creating discrimination and digital divide among the people with disabilities. And lastly, I can tell you the affordability of the devices is a big challenge, because mainly most of the people with disabilities are poorest of the poor. That's why they are unable to procure expensive assistive technology and devices. And as you know, for persons with visual disability, we need high configuration devices because of the talkbacks or other screen reading software. We cannot use the low cost one. So that's why it is very expensive sometimes for people with disabilities. Around 100 USD is required for a smartphone, very low a smartphone, which is not much high configuration, but at least at least minimum is requirement is minimum requirement can be fulfilled. So this is the challenge we are facing, but we have been working hard to remove these challenges. And of course, there is some progress also. And as I told you, there is a law, there is a government manifesto, and also government has ratified the UN Convention of Rights of Persons with Disabilities and accession the Marrakesh Treaty, and want to achieve SDG by 2030. So there is a commitment, and we are progressing slowly. Thank you.
Slowly, but at least progressing, right? Okay. So, Bu Reta, how about in Indonesia? What is the situation? What is the situation of digital rights for the blind people in Indonesia? Is it as advanced as a Vaskar in Bangladesh, or?
Okay, I probably can say from my side, because from my daily experience, for example, we use online transportation now here already. Still have some application that are not accessible for blind. So what I did, I always turn off my screen reader, either voiceover or talkback, and then I try to use my little site, or sometimes I ask my sighted friend or people in my house to text the driver, or to pick up the to choose the location, etc., or to pick up the driver. And also about a bank application, there are still many barriers that we face as a screen reader users, because not all application they develop for screen reader friendly. Although some websites, even some government websites, are still difficult to access for a screen reader user. We still need some help, at least in one part or in several parts of the website. We need help from sighted people. Or if we want to fill the application form or registration form, it's also quite difficult and need someone to help us. That's because people, blind people are I think people, blind people are more depend to digital application, because as Bhaskar said, we cannot see, we cannot read. If you want to read book, you need to access the application that like electronic book or audio book. But what can we do if the application itself is not accessible? So we cannot go into the application, so we cannot read the book. Here, digital application are still limited for blind people to use. And also some devices that probably more accessible for blind, it's quite expensive, in my currency, in Indonesian currency.
Okay, thank you, Bu Reta. Also, I have more question on that. Vaskar has said that in Bangladesh, they have national commitment on pursuing the improvement of accessibility, right? So do we have that in Indonesia?
In several sectors, yes. Like in banking, they are trying to they have a commitment to make all services or included digital or accessible. but I think I until now I don't see it yet. I didn't see it yet because still have people with visually impaired or blind. We still have many barriers to access technology. But yeah, some area like election bodies, they have accessible website, but not all governments have accessible website yet.
Okay, thank you, Bureta. I think in Indonesia, we still need to learn a lot from Bangladesh with
Yeah.
the national commitment and so on.
Yeah,
Okay.
we still struggle here.
Yeah, we have a lot of homework, right, Bureta? Okay, moving on to Nisi. What about the situation for the deaf people? Is it the same?
So the story for deaf people is quite similar with blind, but for us might be more tricky because deaf people is depending, but again, Indonesia is a big country, so we are an archipelago country, so we have 17,000 islands all around the country. So the situation itself might be different from one island to another, and also it impacting the access for digital, and a lot of digitalized, I mean, like the most accessible city or places in Indonesia is only Jakarta. But if we talk about Eastern Indonesia, it might be not very accessible. They still might not having any connections to internet because it's also impacting on the financial things. But about deaf people mobilizations, they usually use the transportations, and the digital access for transportations also different. So it depends on the situation itself. On MRT, for instance, I can be mobile independently. So a lot of deaf people like that kind of public transportations, which also helped by the digitalization. But for Transjakarta or buses, we still don't know where to get in, where to get off, and where are we now, even because the access itself only can get through by the audio access, not by the text one. But if we talk about if we are traveling by airplane, I myself prefer to have the assistance because I'm afraid that I might be late for the airplane, for the flights, because sometimes it's changed. So we don't know also because all the informations are through audio, and that's happened always on transportations. But another challenge about access is also sign language interpreter, right? If we are talking about access for deaf people, sign language interpreter itself in Indonesia only very rare, I might say, the quantity, but deaf people quantity is a lot. Like 7% of the total populations of people in Indonesia are deaf, and the total population itself in Indonesia is 200 million something. So yeah, I mean, like, that's a lot. And how that make it more accessible for us? So we are kind of like having a war to have a sign language interpreter, because of the quantity of sign language interpreter is very few, and not all sign language interpreter has the good capability to interpret. And also, don't forget about their knowledge of on something. They has different knowledge. So for instance, about digital rights, if I want to educate someone with about digital rights, usually we have the special terms on digital rights, right? So it might be not all interpreters could understand it. And also the sign itself, we might still not having it. So that's also a challenge for us. Because if the knowledge itself, they still lacking of it, it's also impacting the sign language itself, and also impacting on understanding of deaf groups also. If blind people also depending on technology, we also depending on sign language interpreter. So it's kind of double burden for us. But sign language interpreter also depending on the capability or capacity of deaf people, because the signs can evolve because of deaf community. So it's still a lot of challenge for us. So how can we make it more evolved if we still don't know about many things on digital rights? So another example is in feminist feminist, we are focusing on advocating on sexual harassment and the rights of deaf people, and also reproductive system rights. And if we are talking about that, we also talking about the online violence. And a lot of cases happens, and a lot of reports from deaf community are talking about the violence on online. And we made a module with sign language. We already made it, but it's still not effective enough, because the literacy for deaf people is still lacking. The digital literacy for deaf people is very lacking. The language, they still not having the language, I mean the language understanding. And not all deaf Indonesians are understand how the written Indonesians. So if we want to educating deaf people, they need to understand the language first. But the problem is the words that's been using are quite kind of difficult for them to understand. So feminist STEM is always evaluating why is it not effective enough. So we finally realize, oh, the problem is because of deaf people is getting the hoaxes easily than the facts, because online world are very cruel and a lot of hoaxes are spreading. And on media social itself, and also their media social are also hacked. So many bad things or cases, mis and also disinformations are also happening to relate to the online sexual harassment. So kind of a vicious circle. And we have to step back and looking at the situations and have to educate deaf people on digital literacy, because they still don't know that they have the rights, how to make it safe for them, and how to make the social media not hacked by someone else. So we also learned how to educate them, starting from the very basic about their rights. So they have to understand the rights. So it's starting from the understanding the literacy first, and then have to educate them how the rights, what's their rights, and how is it to make it safe for them and impacting their ability or knowledge. And then we can educate more about the sexual harassment, how to prevent from it. And other big challenge is also because Indonesia is archipelago country, so we have different signs for each places. Again, it's because sign language is our way to communicate, so it's a challenge for us to communicate clearly, directly. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Nisi. You are raising a very important situation about we are an archipelago country, then everyone, maybe every deaf people have their own way to express or to sign what they are going to or what they want to express, right? So that is one big homework that we have. Before I go to others, I would like to also ask Nisi, what do you need from other stakeholders to actualize or improve the situation of your digital rights? What can other stakeholders do to help you, to help the community of the deaf people?
Well, if we are referring the law, it's actually already okay, and we can also referring the UNCRPD, but in UNCRPD they already stated about sign language clearly, but in the national law is a bit lacking of recognizing sign language. And it's still up until now, people in Indonesia are still debating on sign language. Since the very old times about, they're still debating about which sign that have to be used. Is it the systemic signs one or the sign language one? Well, we already know the answers, but the debate, it's not very important, and it's impacting on the various activities that more important to be focused on. For instance, educations, or maybe for working or job, to to so deaf people can have the job. If we still not recognize the sign language, but the stakeholders itself doesn't look like they are realize that it's a very important matter by recognizing sign language, by using sign language. A lot of them are thinking that deaf people are very important to have the cochlear implant or hearing aid rather than using sign language, while sign language itself is the key for us to living the life fullest. Because they think if we use sign language, it means we have to pay the sign language interpreter, which is costly than the hearing aids, while it's not. It's not the point. For instance, the government still doesn't have the specific budgeting for sign language interpreter. And how they will give the access for us, how they fulfilling our rights, how they can serve us rightly if they don't have the budgeting for sign language interpreter. That's the basic questions. And that's we can see it clearly. If we go to hospitals, we have to pay the bills and also pay the sign language interpreter, while it's actually the basic service that has to be fulfilled by the government. And the national law, the national commitment is not very strong on sign language. That's also the problem. And I think it needs more involvement of all the stakeholders to recognizing sign language as the basic rights. If they recognize the sign language, so the technology can be fulfilled and also anything can be fulfilled easily. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nisi. So we do need sensitivity from other stakeholders to actually provide the access for the deaf people. And I think it is the same for the blind community also. But let me ask Bureta and then Vaskar the same question. What do you need from other stakeholders to actually improve the situation of your digital rights? Maybe Bureta first, or Vaskar, would you like to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, Bureta.
Oh, okay. Vaskar, you can go first.
It's okay. Anyone can go first. If you kindly just repeat the questions, that would be easy for me.
Okay. So what do you need from other stakeholders to actualize or improve the situation for the blind communities?
Firstly, I would like to give importance, nothing about us without us. Different stakeholders need to consider the people with disabilities as expert. They need to be consulted. They need to be in the implementation of the digital rights and digital service development to planning, etc. And another point is that there is a law, there is a conventions. Different stakeholders need to understand these conventions, the laws, local level laws and a standard, and accordingly they need to play the vital role, as the implementation of the accessibility is missing in different mainstreaming digital platform, which are creating barrier to accessing informations and service for people with disabilities. And another issue is, the communities who are working for the people with disabilities, especially INGOs and UN, they are sometimes reluctant to involve the people with disabilities in a leading positions. Sometimes we saw that people with disabilities are coming as a clap giver. Clap giver means they are invited in a workshop, seminar, etc. But for leading they are not coming in the leading role. And also they are not engaged with the international discussions like this rights council. You know, I'm just, we three of us are the persons with disabilities. I'm not sure any of you went to the Costa Rica to join physically, but my two session I was speaking, this is the second time I am speaking in a session, but there is no sponsorship for attending these types of international conferences for people with disabilities. I understand it is a mainstreaming conferences. So mainstreaming conferences and seminar workshops, and they also not really considering people with disabilities as active participants, and there is no lack of resource. You know, funding is a challenge for people with disabilities. Like Bangladesh, we are unable to manage funding to attend in international level discussions. So it is very, very important for people with disabilities. I believe we need to listen another panelist, so I want to stop here. But I want to give a thanks to you for organizing such a sessions, and also I would like to invite and ask RightsCon's organizer, please try to engage more people with disabilities, invite them, and try to arrange a sponsorship to them to come in the conferences in next year, and please try to arrange more sessions and also ensure all types of accessibility for people with disabilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Bu Reta, would you like to add to that question?
Okay, first of all, for me is a meaningful participation. So in all sectors, not only on digital, we should involve people with disability. I like what Bhaskar said, not only just clap giver. So we just make them as a object, but use, involve participation, meaningful participation from people with disabilities or organization with disability or people with disabilities as a consultant, and discuss with them as a users. So and also ask them, because I know that CRPD never wrong to state it nothing about us without us, because only people with disability themselves who knows, who know better what they need. And as you know, in the Indonesia also already not only ratified the CRPD convention, but more than that, we already have a national regulation about people with disabilities, law number 8, 2016, and also several regulations which also talk about disability and to fulfill the rights of disability. But the problem is how the implementation itself. So that's why sometimes people without disability, we don't know, they don't know what our need specifically without talk or discuss with sitting with people with disability or organization that represent people with disability itself. And also from probably NGO or other civil society organization, more people with disability that you involve is will be more knowledge that you get, and more accessible the environment that we can create.
Okay, thank you, Bu Reta. We don't really have much time. Can I get a very brief closing statement from each of you? We can start with Bu Reta.
For me, something that we should remember, that people with disability are able, if we are the society, the equal opportunities for them.
Okay, thank you, Bu Reta. Bhaskar, do you have any closing statement?
I believe the next decade will be our, and I believe we people with disabilities enjoy all rights equal basis with others. We believe artificial intelligence will open up a new arena for people with disabilities. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Nisi, a quick closing statement.
Yeah, sure. And listening is very needed, but for the involvement is also needed for all people, including people with disabilities. So in the future, we can have more decent life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Nisi, Ibu Reta, and Bhaskar. I know it's already midnight there. Thank you for participating. Thank you for voicing your situations. I hope we can get a more improvement next year, and we can also make a discussion again about the situation on digital rights for the blind and deaf community. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.